Hello and welcome to the Straight to the Source podcast. I'm Tawnya Bahr.
And I'm Lucy Allen, and we're looking forward to taking you straight to the source of the people driving our food and hospitality industry forward.
From Dublin to some of Australia's most celebrated kitchens, Colin Fassnidge has built a career that's been anything but ordinary. Chef, restaurateur, television personality, husband, and dad. In this episode, Colin opens up about the journey behind the public persona, the highs and lows of hospitality, family life, and why he's still as passionate about food as ever. Have a listen. Well, welcome, Colin.
Thank you.
It's really great to have you on the Straight to the Source podcast. A lot of people think they know you. They know you as the TV chef. They know you as the outspoken, maybe opinionated Irish guy. The guy with the wild hair at times.
Yeah, it's getting good, isn't it? Getting grey.
Yeah, no, it's looking good today. You spruced up, did you?
It's sea hair, straight from the ocean.
But what is the real story? What is the real story behind Colin Fassnidge?
I think Colin Fassnidge is trying to work out that himself, to be perfectly honest, at the age of 53. Obviously started in kitchens. My love is still in kitchens. Am I still in kitchens now? No. But have I taken my knowledge of kitchens and my love of kitchens and my love of food into other areas? Yes, into many areas. So I've got a lot of fingers in a lot of pies, which I'm just trying to work out to manage to juggle, actually, because it as I said, as I walked in, this is the reason I've got puffy eyes. It's my first week off since January. And I stopped last night and I went to bed at like 7:30. I was broken.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your first day on your first day off.
It was my first day off and I got to do a podcast.
We're feeling special.
No, I like podcasts because Irish people, I can talk underwater. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I do know what you mean. But let's talk about Ireland. Your life started in Dublin.
Yep.
And let's talk about your childhood and where you grew up.
Dublin, I would say we were working class. I was born in, which is probably seen as a rough area in Dublin, which is Tala, and then my dad just worked his ass off like constantly and got us to a better area.
What did he do?
My dad owned a shoe shop and shoe repairs and that, but he just worked and he got us to a nicer area. So we went from yin to yang. And food was always a big part of my life. Like that, my mother was a great cook, and everything I think about food, I think back to her, and everything was joy. Food was joy to her. She used to get excited, so we got excited. That's how I got into food. So I loved food, and then I went to school. Primary school I loved. Then I went to secondary school. Man, get me out of here.
Well, what kind of kid were you?
I wasn't a bad kid. I was a bit of a nerdy kid.
Yeah.
Like we were the kids that went BMX and disappeared all day. We might have been doing some wrong stuff, but we weren't that bad. We weren't getting arrested. Well, not yet. And but we were all right kids. We just went out. I wasn't a bad kid. And secondary schools knocked it all out of me because I said I wanted to be a chef, and they were like. I relate it back. I've said this numerous times to the Billy Elliot story. The guy said he wanted to dance. They're like, well, there's something wrong with you. Men don't do that. I said, I want to cook. They're like, men don't do that. And it was Christian Brothers and they beat it out of us.
Is that right?
Off. Yeah. That was the given in those days. Like, you're allowed to slap kids.
So do you think that's one memory, like a pivotal memory that kind of just...
It spurred me on to prove people wrong because... They'd always said, like, you'll never make it, or cooking it's not a career. And I was like, well, we'll see.
And how old were you?
When I went there, I was 13. And then when I left, I was, 17?
17.
Yeah.
And then did you stay in Ireland and start your career there, or did you go in other areas of Europe?
I started working. I had relatives who had catering company, and I started working my school holidays with there. And my dad's shop and the catering company, and then I got into Cal Brewer Street, which is it's uni or college, whatever you want to call it. It's a two-year course, full time. You do French, you do economics, you do. It's not just cooking. There's 12 subjects before you get to cooking.
Mm-hmm.
I loved college. When I get into college, or uni, you would say,
Yeah.
I was like bush. I was good at it. Maybe not the homework side of thing, but I was good at the cooking.
Okay. So what was it, do you think, having that other foundational training, do you think it painted a fuller picture?
It's not the real world. It teaches you the correct way to do everything,
Mhm.
right? But you're surrounded by people who want to do what you want to do, that's the, like, you know what I mean? We're all cooked, like, for years you were told it's not a man's world. And then
Mhm.
suddenly you're in with all these guys who just want to cook, and we're all trying to outdo each other, and girls. It was just all trying to outdo each other.
What was the ratio back then?
I would say it was actually more girls to men.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's probably because they were told you, because college wasn't the step a lot of chefs took. They went straight from getting kicked out of school, going into a kitchen. That's where a lot of chefs could, like, it's like, pirates and all those. Anthony Bourdain used to say, anyone can go into a kitchen and learn. So a lot of people didn't take the time to go to the college, you know what I mean?
What are your thoughts around that foundational training? I mean, even today, you're around so many different chefs. Do you hire chefs that haven't had that foundational training?
No, I hired chefs who've got training, and when I had the 4 in Hand, the 2-hat restaurant, and we also had 414, the 1-hat restaurant, I would hire chefs from an RSL over a chef with a great CV, because the chef from the RSL who's eager, and I say the recipe's a square, just use a shape. He would do the square as I say. Whereas someone from another fine dining restaurant might do a triangle or their twist on the recipe. And I'm like, no, it's my recipe. It's my restaurant. So I would hire people you can mold and want to be, rather than people who think they're different to you.
So attitude makes a huge
Oh,
difference.
massive, massive.
So how did you come to be in Australia?
Well, it's a long story, that.
Yeah, we got time.
I left in college. My lecturer, Kevin Thornton, was opening a restaurant, and there was only going to be 4 chefs in it, including him. And someone got fired, and it was only open. And he said, "Do you want?" Like, because I was really cocky as well. And he goes, "Do you want the job?" And I said, "Yes." And I just got drilled in this restaurant. Like, I used to do staff food. I couldn't even cook properly, and they complained about staff food. And I was on the
So they were complaining about your staff.
Yeah. But because it was only 4 of us there, but it got a Michelin-star within 6 months, and there was still only 4 of us, and the place was booked out for years.
How many covers?
You do 60 covers a night, but that's like, it was proper fine dining. So after starters, I go on to desserts, and then I'd go on to potwash. So I'd be there all day. We all were, but. And then I got after 2 years, and he was just drilling me. I was like, I'm going to go. So I was meant to go to Roscoff's in Belfast, which was another 1-star. And he found out, and he said, "Oh, if you stay, I'll get you a job with Raymond Blanc, which is a 2-star Michelin in Oxford." And I said, "All right." So I stayed for another while. So Kevin Thornton got me the job to work with Raymond Blanc, and I went into a kitchen with 35 to 40 chefs. And
so from 4 to 35, 40 chefs.
And you are the bottom. And they hired chefs in blocks, because back then you could, because there was so many. So I got hired on a day of 9, and by 2 weeks I was the only one left. So they whittle down what they want and just get rid of you. So I stayed just out of stubbornness.
Only the strong survive.
You're thrown to the wolves, and it was the old school kitchens of anything goes, and it's not necessarily the way you want to do it now, but it was, you learn pretty fast, or you were gone. It was, and I didn't like it there, but I stayed there 2.5 years to do every section.
Okay. So then what actually was the moment that you decided it was time to move on?
Or
did you get kicked out?
No, I didn't get, they asked me to stay. Actually, Mr. Blanc brought me to the garden for tea. And said, you're in the good books then, because he's like, can you stay a bit longer? Because they were whittling through chefs.
Yeah.
And I did stay the extra 6 months, and then I was just like, I need to do something else. And then I was working with Justin North. That's how the story came about. Justin North, who had Baccass, and he's got his concept hospitality at the minute.
Is this when he was at Clarence Street?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but he was with me with Raymond Blanc. We were on the same section.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in Oxford all those years ago, me and Justin were on the same section, and we used to hang out together and live. We used to live next door to each other. Like we was very incestuous. And then he said, "I'm going to Australia. You should come." And I was like, "Well, I've had enough of this." So I went back to Ireland for a few months, and then I came. I just bought a ticket. I got my visa, and the reason college, I had all my papers so I could travel, because if you go to college, you get your 706 1 and 2, your City and Guilds. So I got my visa for Australia, and I wasn't going to work. I didn't want to work, actually. I just wanted to work in a bar. And then Justin said, "Come meet my mate, Liam." So it was Liam Tomlin. And he says he's got this restaurant called Bank. And I was like, I don't really want to work. And I came in to see Liam, and Liam goes, "Start tomorrow." And I was like, I've just landed.
Oh my God. Okay. So to have a job straight away, did it cramp your style though? Were you planning on backpacking a while? Or?
Oh, I said to him, I need to backpack for a while. And he said, "No, start tomorrow and I'll sort it out." So I started at Bank, and it was one of the best teams I've ever worked with. Every chef could cook. Every chef in there, Brett Graham was an apprentice, Matt Kemp, Justin North, there was me, Daryl Falstead, who else? There was Warren Turnbull. Everybody could cook. And it was an amazing kitchen to work in. And then after the Christmas, Liam let me go backpacking for 2 months. So I went backpacking and came back. So that's how I ended up here.
And then you met Jane, your wife.
Later on, a year later, I was working in an establishment. When it first opened, Matt Fleming, a very good friend of mine, I started CBD for a few months prior to opening an establishment, because you had to learn his style of cooking. And I started in Est, and Jane was a restaurant manager, junior, sort of on the floor. And I was maybe junior sous chef, and we met there.
Were you expecting to settle down, or what was that? What was that like? Because she's quite a gun front of house, but at the time she was just new to the industry, was she?
Well, she didn't know if she was going to stay, and I was on sponsorship, which I'd moved from Bank to establishment to Est to Maryvale when Mr. John ran it, and Justin was just a wee pup, and so I was on sponsorship, and then Matt Fleming got moved on, and I was stuck at Est, and then Peter Doyle came in, and I was a sous chef at Est under Matt Fleming, and Peter Doyle made me a commie.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Because I wasn't part of his team.
Right. How did that make you feel?
I was. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can do. Yes,
I was in the shit because I was on sponsorship. So if I didn't agree, I had to leave the country. And Peter Doyle's food, I found the most boring food in the world to me, coming from Bank. And I had to
suck it up.
He had all his little lapdogs who would, yes, Peter, no. So I just had to peel carrots down the back till I got my residency. And the day, 6 months to the day.
I can picture this, Colin.
I waited. The letter the day I got my residency, I walked past Doyley. I didn't even talk to him. I went down to John Franks, who was in the office, and I said, "I'm out of here." And then he went up to Pete and said, "I'm done. Thanks for nothing. But, you're a nice guy, but I really do not like your style. It's not my style. And I'm out of here." Bang, gone.
And then when you walked out, did you know your next step?
No,
or were you just
I got a job
taking a chance
down the road in near King's Cross somewhere in an Italian restaurant. They paid me $1,000 a week, and I brought 3 of the chefs from Est who were in the same boat with me, and we opened this Italian restaurant, an Irish guy cooking Italian, but we made our own pasta and whatever. It was across from Pello, and then we got some good reviews from Fran Shore, like an Irish guy cooking Italian. Like we were like, it was like the Jamie Oliver Italian, whatever, it was rustic, but it was in. And then I went to Le Grand Bouffe in Roselle, and I met David, and there was me and another girl, and we did breakfast, lunch and dinner. And then that got like a 14-hour 20 from Matt Evans. And then the owners of the Four in Hand heard about this little cafe that was doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and there was only 2 chefs. And Brett Savage was leaving the Four in Hand. Brett's a great guy, by the way. And they came over and said, "Do you want a job? Do you want to take over the Four in Hand?" And I'm like, "Now we're rocking." So that's when I got into the four in hand.
Is that right?
Yeah.
By then, you had formal training, you had all that experience.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were just kind of getting your stride and like finding your feet and feeling comfortable? Like,
I was
yourself?
learning my style, because before then you're doing everyone else's style. And you're picking up little bits of everyone else's style and putting them in and taking the best of their style to make yours. But you've already got your own ideas. Like you've got your books, you're writing in them, whatever. And it was the early days of four in hand was Le Grand Boeuf, like playing around with the pig's ears and the pig's tails and the offal. And then early four in hand, it was a bit of a cut and paste. It wasn't really my style. It was sort of pre the dawning of my style. And then I think we didn't get a chef's hat the first 2 years or something. And then
But it did have a reputation for being one of Sydney's great gastropubs.
It did after that, because then I found my style.
Okay.
And then I didn't care what anyone thought. And then that's like probably when I was a bit aggro. But I was working 16 hours a day in this kitchen. And then I found my style, and I was like loving every day going to work. We worked 16 hours a day. We were known as one of the hardest kitchens in Sydney. But we were doing some cool stuff like that no one else was doing. No one else wanted to touch the offal or the whole beast. And we were just, that was our jam.
And you were doing the schnitzel, well, the pig's ears.
Pig's ear schnitzels.
Strips. Yeah.
We used to do them in toast racks, little pig's ears. So instead of getting toast, you got pig's ears crumbed. We were deboning pig's tails and stuffing them with mousse and serving them with crab and ginger beer jelly. And it was good. It was a good time. Like, it was good food, and it was my food, and I was having a ball.
And what's a misconception about owning or running your own restaurant? Do you find that chefs, unless you've actually been there, don't really understand?
No, I would say I was a great cook. I was very ambitious. I worked extremely hard. Jane ran the floor. She worked extremely hard and kept me in line, actually, because if you're just going to leave it to the chef half the time, it's going to go down the toilet, because we've all got egos back then, and we're all trying to outdo each other. That's just young chefs.
Yeah.
They're like young bulls. I had a business partner, Joe Soleil, who was part owner of the four. I wasn't an owner then. They brought me in later as an owner. But I had Joe Soleil, who managed the books. And we would have a meeting every week, and he would keep me in line.
Like, you need that, though.
You're spending. Because, I've got this dish. It's a loss leader. Yeah, that's great. But what if you got 4 loss leaders on the menu and you're not making money? You're working 16 hours a day for nothing. So Joe and me used to sit down, and there was tough times in the pub when we first started. We were doing 6 covers a night, and people wanted to close the joint. And Joe stood by me, and I was always remember that man. He's one of my best friends. Stood by me, and together and with Jane, we brought that to a 2-hat, like booked out for 6 months in advance. And then we opened 414. We borrowed 900 grand from the four in hand to open 414. Like, because we had to gut it, build the grease traps, put the hoods in, everything, put new power in this building. And then we paid back four in hand within 6 months. That's how much money we made out of that. And that's out of someone backing me.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen. That formula doesn't always.
You got to find that person. You got to find a person who'll stand by you, like in the dark days. And then the light days, everyone wants to stand by you and give you money. But it's the dark days.
So those dark days, has there ever been one that's like nearly broken you?
There was. So the story of 414, like the restaurant that made so much money and dividends for 5 years, year 6, the lockout laws came in, and obviously they started building the trams. So our area just shut down.
Yeah. And
it was tumbleweed. So we went from doing 160 covers a night to 40. So I had to let go of the head chefs, and I had to come from the four in hand and stand in there every night and watch a restaurant that used to do 160 covers a night do 40. And Jane and me worked for a year for free. Didn't get paid for a year. I'm like, we can't keep doing this. And I sold the joint. Like, I paid off all my suppliers, paid off all my staff, all my tax, all my Yabas, which keeps going for another year. That's the killer, is the tax. And I sold the joint with everything in it for 40 grand.
Far out.
But it was the best day was to hand those keys because I had another 7-year lease and the rent was 4.5 grand a week plus outgoings. So I lost money for a year, but it's a very good lesson to learn as well.
Did you feel that the pressure at least was lifted?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think me and Jane hugged outside it and was like, see you later.
Yeah.
I get itchy when I go by it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you at that point ever feel like walking away from hospitality?
I was a bit burnt, but I still loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we went on and did Banksia. That was a bet. Me and Clayton, when Four in Hand closed, so I was a bit bitter about that because the building got sold, and that was a machine. And then Clayton, a friend of mine, we got drunk at the leaving party at Four in Hand, and he said, "How about we find the shittiest pub in Sydney and make it work? And I'll bet you $10 you can." And I said, "I bet you can." And we found this pub, and then this turned this pub that no one would go to into this machine. But it was good, like because we know the formula. And Clayton's another good business partner. So, yeah.
Do you think that's really the key for, owner-operator businesses is finding that formula? Or
Yeah, because it's very hard to do on your own. I'm not just saying like money-wise, mentally. Like, because when it's a very hard business to be in. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have the right people around you, like there's a lot of people I know who are not here anymore on earth. And it's one of those things, if you don't have the right network around you, it'll suck you in.
Well, in talking about family, how has, getting married and having children, you've got 2 girls, how has that, grounded you or supported you, or do they keep you in check?
They would say not a lot. I get in more trouble now than I ever did. The only reason I did well, I reckon, in restaurants, like I was doing well, but like say 2-hat level, going up to the next level of in the top 10 in Australia, we were at one stage, was because I had Lily. And
Lily's your daughter?
My daughter, my first daughter, who's nearly 17. And I had to step away from the kitchen because Jane would have the baby all night, and then I used to be in the morning early, but I had the little strap on for the baby, go in and
baby be on,
and walk around Clovelly. We had an apartment there at the time, and I would go up and down and come in late for lunch. And then my sous chef was Carla Jones, great chef. Carla Jones was my business partner at 414, and she's now got she's in Saltell at the Hilltop. Yep. So Carla took over the reins, and it probably ran better when I wasn't there because I had a funny thing in 414. I think out of 9 chefs, 7 were female, and the joint just ran like clockwork. There was no screaming and shouting and egos, and Carla was probably a big,
influence.
Was a major part of the success of Four in Hand and the 2 hats, and after that we had Tom and Paul. Paul Farag was head chef. Tom Robertson was a head chef. So Brett Cameron, head chef. Like we've had some great boys come through there, and girls. I'm saying most were girls.
Well, who gives you the most feedback? Does Jane? I mean, even now. I mean, you look at how long have you guys been together? How many years now?
We met in 2001. We got married in 2006. So whatever that is, a long time. So you get out of jail quicker.
Do you feel that they give you a bit of a reality check now that you've gone into TV land as well?
Yeah. Well, I went into TV land in 414 days.
Okay. So how did that happen?
I started TV land early Four in Hand days because I got asked to do the second season of MasterChef as you go on, and then I got noticed and got asked to do stuff. I got the job originally from a Twitter fight, which was... we do need to talk about social media, but I remember that Twitter fight like it was yesterday. The Sunday Telegraph, like the biggest one.
Yes.
I could have got a lot of trouble for that. It was...
So what happened, Colin, in a nutshell?
So have you ever seen the movie Chef?
Yes.
Right? I swear to God, this could have been I could probably owe money from Hollywood because... Twitter, my restaurant manager put me on. He said, it'd be good for business. You just talk about ramble and people read it and dush. Anyway, we had a journalist in and she didn't eat meat, and there was a whole pig function, and obviously did it there, and this idiot did it there, and I thought I was talking to Warren, Justin and Matt, the boys who used to work at a bank, but I didn't realise the whole world reads it, send, dush, publish, went to bed, next day, things blown up. JMO from the Telegraph, do you want to comment on your spat with this journalist? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because the journalist was in for dinner. And I said, how'd you know about that? He said, everyone knows about it. They read about it. It's like, it's been retweeted. I said, how do you get rid of it? He goes, no, it's gone. It's out there. And he goes, do you want to give a comment? And I said, I just don't write about it. And he goes, I'm writing about it. It's in the paper on Sunday. And I said, well, here's my comment. Go fuck yourself. And then that was in the paper. And then Sunday, Jane was in bed, and I was like, I'll go get the paper. But I got all the papers in the shop and sort of hid them. And then someone had, because there's no anyway, she's seen it. Yeah. There was a little thumbnail of me, and she goes, why are you in the paper? And then she opened it. It was like, bang.
She go, holy shit.
So that was the story. Learned a lesson in there. I should slander. You shouldn't really do that.
But then other people chimed in, and then it became this whole dialogue, didn't it?
Oh yeah. It was just I was in my time of Twitter and your ego, and as I said, this young chef thing, and then you're fighting with other young chefs, and you think it's cool at the time, and if you went back and read it now, you're like, you're an idiot, like cup yourself on. But then Channel 7 read it, and they were like, oh, well, can you be like a troublemaker on TV? And I was like, hello, how are you?
You picked the right person. Oh my God, that's funny. It's funny how social media has influenced so much of cooking, hospitality, marketing, whether it's venues or your own brand. I mean, you use social media quite effectively.
It's a tool. Now I know how to do it enough.
So can you give our listeners a bit of a rundown here, because you've got your hands in, like you said, a lot of different pies, but obviously there's censorship and depending on what you're doing. I mean, I guess we all have a cloak of personality, right? So if you're going into your children's school, you behave a certain way. Yeah. If you're going into your kitchen, you behave a certain way.
You said bad boy, which is like in the press, it was like bad boy. And then when you do get in trouble, the media jumps on top of you because you've got in trouble because you did something bad. But you like calling the bad boy, but then you do something wrong and they'll crucify you. That's the world I live in now. They love just to, anyway.
So how do you navigate that though?
Well, let's go through the shows. I work on My Kitchen Rules. Mm-hmm. It pays my bills, pays my mortgage. It is what it is. Like, it's sort of, years ago I would have called myself a sellout, and then I'm like, I get to cook and I get to influence. People meet you and they're happy to meet you. I'm like, that's quite nice. Okay, so from that show, I got you start to do other food projects. I do Oz Harvest off the back of that, because people know you off the back of that. So then you're in schools teaching kids with Ronnie Can. And the only reason you do that is because of that show. Then I do other charities because off the back of that. So that's your
That's doing good. That's giving back.
Yeah, that's your gateway in, because they like you, because they think they know you. And then I do Better Homes and Gardens, which is me. I got hired to do Better Homes and Gardens because my Instagram sometimes gets a bit raucous and there's a bit swearing, bit of whatever, but that's just my house. Mm-hmm. Everyone in my house. And Channel 7 said, can you do Better Homes and Gardens? Do your Instagram, but just don't swear. Because we love the fresh attitude. Like, it is what it is. You're using cheap cuts and it's not really that polished. And that's what we want. And I said, well, if I can do what I do at home in my kitchen. And then they said, can we film it in your kitchen? I'm like, fine, no problem. So that's Better Homes. But Better Homes has to be, obviously you can't swear. My Kitchen Rules is very manicured to an inch of its life. That's like, I'm not walking around wearing a suit every day. And then off the back of that, me and Manu had an idea. We were away filming another show in New Zealand and we found a caravan and we just sent a photograph to our friend and said, can we make a show where we go around and eat local food, indigenous food to the area in a caravan? And they said, that's a great show. Here's the season. Dush. So we did that. So we go to Maori communities. We do hungies, we do fishing, we do hunting. We learn all the whatever, and that show we can say whatever and do whatever we want.
And what is it about that environment that appeals to you? Do you feel that you're learning and you're not only entertaining, but you are, being inspired yourself?
Yeah. I understand I have to do, say, the MKR.
Mm-hmm.
That's the milk, and then the other side the cream.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to go and do some cool stuff. Like I did a wild boar hunt with 3 dogs in the mountains. It's on the show. It's coming up. So just before everyone complains. And it was pretty hectic. And
in what way? The environment, being out there? Were you out there all night?
Catching the animal, disposing of the animal with a knife, not a gun, with a knife, and 3 dogs hold it for you. Oh, I'm like, this is raucous. And they're like, make sure you kill it, because if it gets back up, because it's got big tusks, it's going to take your leg off. And then we're like, you're like shaking at the end of it. And then we get to go to beautiful Maori communities where you have to be asked in. You're not allowed to just walk in and get accepted and do the traditions. I got gifted a Maori stone, the green stone, by one of the men who said the stone finds you. And this is part of the stories that we tell. And he said the stone finds you. And he said his great-grandfather came from Ireland and married a Maori woman. And I go, okay. And I said, what's the string on the stone? It's because it's a pretty big stone. Mm-hmm. And he goes, he was a cobbler. And I was like, my dad, that's his job. And he said the stone finds the person. And I started crying because I was like, that
just hit you in your heart.
Yeah. I'm like, you're actually telling the truth, because he didn't know any of this.
And is your dad still alive?
He's still alive, yeah.
Okay.
So, and I was like, so I get to do that show, and go like, and we show so much respect, because the New Zealand people have so much respect in their culture and their food.
But it's an open slate where you can curate it the way.
Well, me and Manu are producers on that.
Okay.
So we've a say in what happens. So they've signed up 2 more seasons.
Brilliant. Congratulations.
Yeah, so that's good. And then we have the other show. So that's 3, and 4 is Food Diaries, which is just off the scale, raucous.
Tell us about it, please.
Food Diaries was an idea in COVID that started with James White and Rob Rower. Do you want to go to Mongolia in the winter and shoot a show? I said, why not? We've nothing else to do. And then Mongolia led on to Cambodia, and then Cambodia led on to Japan. Japan was easy. But Mongolia was pretty, like...
I was following you, and I saw some pretty graphic, full-on, episodes or what have you.
We went in the winter.
The hardest?
3 stupid white men went to Mongolia in the winter, minus 35. The snow's up past the car, and we drove around there for 2 weeks. And it was pretty depressing, and I couldn't wait to get out of it, because it's mentally just broke us. Like, I know the clip I've seen in the show. I've watched it where I break, and I was like, I need to get out of here.
Is that where you were vomiting?
Oh, yeah, I was vomiting. Yeah, that was something else. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was just, I got food poisoning. We went to a factory where they dispatch horses, and we watched horses getting cut up. We've actually bought some. It was like the special cut they use. Mm. And it sounds like, see, this is what the beauty of this TV, and coming from a reality TV to another section of TV, where you're going to a place where they eat horse, and over here no, you don't do that. But over there, there's nothing else. Mm. Like, we were there, there's no ground, it's snow, there's no vegetables, there's no grass, there's horses, you've got a family to feed. What are you going to do?
So how did you cook it?
What they do is they salt it, and they put it inside the rib. So they've got the rib of the horse, and then there's a membrane, and then you put the rib meat inside, and you bend it, and you tie it together, and then you braise it, and then the fat doesn't melt. It's like, gets quite yellowy. It's like a dairy cow. Mm-hmm. And it's like corned beef, actually. And then the first day we're like, horse. And then day 5 we're like, is there any horse left? And we're just like in the back, and we're all just chewing on horse, because our guide was like these idiots from Australia, and he's like, mate, you have to eat meat and fat to stay alive in this country. Like, because your feet...
In those temperatures.
Yeah, because it's minus 35. And he goes, forget about what you think. And like, we stayed in yachts in the desert. I drank vodka made out of yogurt with this sheep herder in the desert. And his wife was in the next tent. And I said, it's not strong enough. And I had some Tullamore Dew Irish whiskey in the car. So him and me drank that, and he got so drunk, and his wife just beat him in the tent in front of me and put him to bed, and then sent me to another tent. And I'm like, we're in a tent in the desert, like, and I'm corrupting these men.
And the wives are like, go, Colin,
It's
go.
not a normal thing with wives. It doesn't matter if she's a Mongolian sheep herder, like they're big ladies, or a Northern Irish, my own wife, or my daughter's telling me I'm an idiot, go to bed.
Yeah.
So that was that.
Checker.
Yeah, and then we did stuff like we went to Cambodia. We did the tarantulas, the crickets, but that's like crickets and all that's protein now. Like, that's going to be normal food sometime. The tarantulas is a bit of for the camera.
We have bug farms here in Australia.
Yeah, and there's nothing like I've quite on the side of the road in the hills. It wasn't like in the cities done for flash. It was just on the side of the road. We were eating bugs, deep fried and with a bit of chili, beautiful. And then we did curry in the mountains, which was probably a bad idea because we did that one on motorbikes, off road, and then an hour later, you got to get off the road pretty quick because the curry comes back to bite you. But it was a food show about eating food that people don't eat. And like, we went down the Mekong River in a wooden canoe and just pulled over, got curry, and we did the killing fields, which I think is part, like, that shows a bit of that, which is coming from a reality food show. Next thing you're in the killing fields talking to someone who was a kid in that school where all the torture went on. And then you're like, so we show that the food in that area and then the stories. So that's what I do now. That's sort of a roundabout answer to a very long story.
No, but do you plan on doing more of that?
On the cards? Well, that one's for sale because we own that one.
Okay.
So that's for sale.
We have all kinds of folks that listen to this podcast. So.
Yeah. And I'm talking to someone next week who does that side of thing in Afghanistan on a YouTube thing. Because I think we were talking earlier, YouTube's the biggest channel. Yeah. Bigger than Prime, bigger than Netflix, bigger than anything. And I think we're working on something now for YouTube, because you can make some cash out of that. Yeah. Because TV is not going to be around forever. Well, it will be, but just in different forms.
Who knows what the form will be. Yeah. Well, what has been on TV perhaps given you that restaurants didn't? Or vice versa? It's just...
Cash.
Cash? Yeah?
No, at the start it wasn't cash because I got paid not a lot at the start, like minimal. I probably got paid, what I got paid for a season, I get paid in 2 days now. But that's because I didn't know anything. And when I started TV, I was not very good and I was getting fired. And I think it was like going back to school about, you're not very good, you can't do it. So I practiced and got very good very quick because I had to, because you just get fired.
Well, has imposter syndrome ever set in
100%, yeah.
Because one would assume not. You know, you've got this personality.
I got a big because I know how to jazz hands in front of a camera. But on normal days, I'm in the ocean or walking or hiking. Like, I've got it. I know when to turn it on, but you got to know when to turn it off, because the people who do well in this business turn it off. The people who don't need attention all the time and don't turn it off.
Yeah.
I go home tonight, I'm cooking dinner for the kids, and then I collect fish, and I've got dogs, and then it's not about TV. Like, in my house, when the ads come on for one of my shows, my kids go, you cringe, and turn the TV off. So there's no ego massaging or whatever. It's just a job I go and do.
Do you find, though, that your mind, because you are so active, and since I've known you, which has been quite a few years, you've always had a fabulous sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because you always seem to be able to either turn a really dire situation into something funny, and maybe that's for those around you, and inside you're going, oh, shit.
I was saying to Manu when we were arguing in New Zealand about something, and I said, I'm glass half full, and you're glass half empty, and he's like, oh, that's it. Now we're arguing. I can take the piss out of myself. Like, I know my flaws. And I think if you can take the piss out of yourself before someone else does, or you bring up all your wrongs before they can, they're like, oh, well, he's pretty honest. And that's what I do. Like, what you see is what you get. I'm not trying to be whatever.
Well, when we were talking about social media and Twitter, if social media was around when you were like 20, 22, do you think you would have survived?
I'm glad it wasn't, because now every chef is like, it's the food is social, is Insta life, and it's not real life. Like, we were too busy. We were working 16 hours a day. My daughter was in the bassinet under the computer upstairs, and Jane was on the floor. And then at night we'd bring her home. So is that legal? Probably it is legal, but it's
legal. You're the parents.
She spent half her life in the restaurant.
And are they going to follow suit? Are they going to go into hospitality?
Well, one works in a cafe now,
Okay.
and she did her training or her school for a week. They don't want to, but they could, they can do whatever they want, to be perfectly honest. It's like they've grown up in hospital families. They eat out, and when they eat out, they know they've got a tip. And they're like, because, my friends didn't tip when I tipped. I'm like, yeah, that's what you got to do, because that's where we get the yumble. Like, it's our, front of house. And they know good food from bad food. But they'll travel the world and they'll eat well, and they'll be able to wait a table, both of them, and you'll
Those
travel
are
the world
life
doing that.
skills,
Yeah.
Cooking, whether or not they go into it as a profession, hospitality, front of house. I mean, they've obviously had amazing mentors, and, their mom and dad are both,
But because of social media, my kids think chefing is still a bad job.
Oh, do they?
Oh, yeah. They're like, you're only a chef.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, see how you go.
Well, with media, I mean, it can be a love-hate relationship because, you were saying, when you're the golden boy and you're getting all this great press, but heaven forbid you do something that,
Hello, how are you? I always do something wrong. Look, they love you, which is great. And stuff like the logos and all that, they're all over you. And then you do something wrong, as everyone does. And then they're camped outside your house, following your kids to school, because they love they love a tall poppy syndrome as well. They love, you know what I mean? And I've come to see that now. So when I'm not filming, I just disappear and do what I do. Like, I don't need to be, obviously I'm on doing a lot, but I've now, last night I finished filming and I've got a month off, and I'm going to do nothing.
Yeah. But do you find that sometimes you want to remind media that you're a human? And
I do all the time. I think there was a year it made that we had contestants who were two young Indian girls, and obviously now that I'm a dad, I relate to a lot more stuff, like comments. Like, I'm all right. Some of the stuff I cop online is huge, right? And we don't need to go there because it's been in the paper before.
But how do you block it out?
I'm used to it. It's like I've got an armor. Like, I've got some really bad stuff get said to you and about your family. There's sometimes I will go after people when it triggers me, but a lot of the time it's like, oh, your hair's greasy, you're Irish, why don't you go back to your own country? And then like, your food did it, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But there was a time where there was two contestants who were two young Indian girls, and their comments were just, they'd won, and Radha and Prabha, great girls, they're only young, and there was just racial comments. And I went on and did a video, and I was in New Zealand at the time, and I was like, anyone who follows the show should be ashamed if this is what you're, and I've got kids, and did it there. And it made the paper, so it shamed a lot of people into, you know what I mean? Because people just end up on TV and people think they can say whatever they want about them.
Well, when you're a keyboard warrior, you just like...
I love to fire back sometimes, and I have to just, or like if I see something stupid, I'll be like, I've got better. But I cop a lot. But anyway, but that's the net. Like, that's what I say to the people who go on our shows. Like, you do realize what's coming when it goes to air. You've no media training or whatever, but they're coming for you.
Yeah. Do they give like support or counseling or anything like
Yeah,
that?
they
Some
have to now.
tools?
They have to. But
Yeah.
it's still like a lot of people are left. They're sitting at like, it's like young kids, which I'll bring around because I work for a charity called Dublin and Now, which I'm big on. I was there this morning.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about it?
Dublin and Now is called when no one else is watching. And it's about men's mental health, and it was organised by Ty Kennelly and his good mate Dave Eccles, and it was about men committing suicide, and it's we got involved, and I joined it after doing Mongolia because I wasn't in a good headspace because it broke me, and I joined this the group. Ty's been asking me for a long time, and then I got involved, and I've been in it a few years now. I do a lot of fundraising. We train on a Wednesday morning, and I get a lot of guys in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I see someone doing a bit of tough, bring them down. We train, we have a coffee, have a chat, we go for a swim, and every day of the year. And I got deep into the mental health thing, and one of the projects was to raise awareness. Was to put the people who'd lost their lives of like chefs and whoever on the t-shirt. So we do a 60K walk every year. So we do 60Ks in one day.
And it's a fundraiser?
Yeah, it's a fundraiser, and we raise like 300 grand, and it goes back into the W Now. So there's a different one in every beach. But I had to, and then other families reached out to me and said, "Oh, can I put my son's name on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, not a problem." And then can I put my daughter's name on? And then can I put my child's name on? This is suicide. I'm not talking about just death. And the youngest was, this leads back to what I was saying. That's my roundabout story. There was a child who was 8 who was getting bullied at school who hung himself in his shower. And his mother told me the story. And I had to get back to 140 families and speak to them, put the names on. And I was like, this is... Like, as we're talking about, how do you deal with it? Like, there's so many people who don't deal with it. And, like, it sent me down a rabbit hole, and I actually started drinking too much. And because I was dealing with 140 families, and Jane's like, you got to stop. And I said, well, I can't stop. I've got to keep doing it. And I was not good. And I got myself in a bit of trouble because I was trying to deal with it. But I got the names on. We did the walk. We raised the money. But I said, I can't do it again this year. Like we had a meeting. The boys were saying you can't do it on your own because I was speaking to people who lost children and twins and
emotionally and physically that played a toll on you.
Sent me down a rabbit hole. Yeah. This was last November. And so the walk's at the end of November. So September, October, November, I'm speaking to all these families who've lost someone. And they like it. You can't just go yes in the message. You have to get back to them. So every name meant something on that shirt. So that's what we wore on the day. Like it was pretty powerful thing. And we raised a lot of money, but I'm only a chef or a TV. And then suddenly I'm this person talking about death and children. And it sent me down a bad rabbit hole in November. And yeah.
Did it make you seek out help yourself?
Yep, I did. After that, I did. I still do. And I find it quite good, actually. Because it goes back to the whole childhood, you weren't good enough and all this. And because the Irish way of being brought up is just deal with it, suck it up. Don't be a girl. You've all heard that. That's stupid. Now I've got girls. You can't say that.
Yeah.
But that was the Irish father sort of mentality. And now, I do speak to someone, and I'm not ashamed to say, I think everyone should do it.
Well, what advice or what, we can put links in the show notes and everything. What are some of the organizations that would be good for us to include?
Well, W Now, I think, is the main one.
Okay.
WNOW. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what gets you excited to get out of bed other than you've just now have a month off and you're spending the first day with us?
I got up at 5 and I went to the beach with the Dublin and Europe boys and it was pitch dark and I brought some friends down who'd never been there. And I think that was a good motivation because I didn't want to get up. And I'd already organised for some guys who'd never been there before to come, some good friends of mine who wanted to come down and have a look and just because it's about one of these connection things. You think you're alone, but you're not.
Mhm.
So I got up, I met my friends. We went down. There was 50 other blokes there. There's 50 other blokes on every beach. We trained. And it was just one of the, because I hadn't been there in a few weeks and I was so happy to be there. The sun, we had one of the best sunrises this morning.
Ah,
And then we all swim. Sharks and no sharks were in there. There's bigger problems in life. So we were in there.
yeah.
And we had a swim and then we had a coffee. And then I went home and then I dropped my kids to school because I haven't done that in a while because I've been working. And it's little things like that I love, right? So I dropped, actually Lily drove and she could put the L's on the car. So
Right,
that was
yep.
that's quite good.
Mhm.
And I'm in the middle of building a greenhouse out the back, which is not just a greenhouse. It's out of recycled. It's part of a show, and it's out of recycled houses, like all windows, doors, and that's going to be a studio.
Oh, okay. Brilliant.
And then we're building gardens to go at the back of that. So that's the next project.
Do you need any seedlings?
Yeah, I do actually.
So I'll introduce you to my friend. He's called the Worm Tickler.
Oh yeah,
He's got some great seedlings.
I'm big into worms.
Good.
Yeah,
Oh, they're
worm
fabulous
farms
for
are
the
great.
garden. Yeah.
So we filmed that 12 hours yesterday building that. So that's like concrete but that's pretty cool. That's a new thing we're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's exciting.
And then we're looking at the YouTube thing, which could lead. I'm going to Vietnam in September with a mate of mine to maybe film something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I'm trying to quiet down, but
any plans on opening another restaurant or taking over another pub or anything like that?
I've had talks.
Okay.
I've had talks.
We won't say anything.
But my old business partner, Joe Soleil, he's got a pub and he wants us to do something.
Okay.
But I just think at the minute, don't be rushing into to spend your money in hospitality because it's not the right time.
Let's support the ones that are there.
There's enough.
Yeah.
Like I support my local cafe.
Yep.
Support my local pizza shop across the road. Yeah. Like my local cafe where my daughter works, big up the Coastal in Malabar. Like I'll go down there and buy a coffee, or I'll go down there for a steak, and I'll go down there because he's a very good Irish guy, and winter's extremely tough down by the beaches.
Yeah.
Like my good friend Joe Pavlovich, who's got in Bondi, Bondi Track. You know what I mean? You got to support these guys. In the summer, it's great, and we had a bad summer in Bondi with all the stuff that went on, so they've lost all their cash. They're going into winter. So I would say support your local cafe, your local, everything.
Yeah. Yep. Well, hey, are you ready for some quick fire?
Hang on.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. Favorite Irish comfort food?
Colcannon.
What is it?
Colcannon. So it's potato, like it's a rustic Irish potato dish, but it was a major part of Four in Hand and 414. But obviously we chefed it up. Like we riced the potatoes, we roasted them on salt, riced the potatoes. We added too much butter, so you split the potato. Then we added milk to bring it back. So it's like a Paris mash, but then you added in green shallots from stalk. Use the stalk to the tip. Then you add in parsley. You can add in blanched cabbage. It's meant to be rustic, but we obviously fancied it up.
Mate, that sounds absolutely delicious.
And it's better the next day because the shallots sort of ferment in the potato a bit.
Okay, well, that sounds delicious, but this is a quick fire, so we need short, sharp answers.
Yeah, but I can't do it. You have to do it justice.
Oh, well, it sounds like you did. And if you do get involved with another pub and you put it on the menu, would you let me know?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
always on the menu.
Okay.
Every function I do. It's
I'm-
part of it.
I'm in. All right, Guinness or whiskey?
Whiskey. Well, quick answer. Guinness, couple of Guinness to start, 3 Guinness, then it's a bit heavy, and then you smash the whiskey. Can't do Guinness all night.
Okay. One ingredient you couldn't live without.
Vinegar.
On a filter scale, 1 to 10, how filtered is your Instagram, personal Instagram?
7.
Okay.
No, not filtered. Unfiltered. Like, filtered would be what?
Filtered would mean you are really checking it, double checking it,
No,
curating it.
2.
2.
I don't give a
Okay.
shit.
All right. Biggest kitchen pet hate? Commercial kitchen.
Tweezers.
Favorite city in the world to eat your way through?
Oh, I just think I was going to say Copenhagen, but that's a bit blah, blah, blah. I had one of the best meals I had was in San Francisco with Jane. It was just the experience. It was just up in the hills. It was called A16.
Oh, I know. I lived there for 9 years.
All right.
But every time I go back, I go there. It's fantastic.
So that's where 414 was born. Was from a meal at A16. I got served over the counter by the chef.
Yeah.
And I was like, no one's doing this in Australia.
No.
So I went back and did it.
What's always in your fridge at home? 5 things.
Butter, cheese, good Gouda. Butter, cheese, what do you call it? Mortadella. A vinegar type solution I would have made from something from the garden, like a pickle chili job. And I would say Branston pickle.
Okay. Most overrated ingredient?
You know what? I don't get this whole lobster craze at Christmas. Everyone spending too much money on lobster and it's chewy and tough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You probably love it and it's great. I would rather prawns.
You got to cook it right, Colin.
Yeah, I know that, but people will buy them like I think people like the money's
they're
tight.
overrated.
Money's tight. Buy a nice pork neck or something like that. You know what I mean? Get more value for your money.
Well, you're known for your crackling.
Yeah. But I would like lobsters. It's extravagant, and everyone thinks that's what Christmas is about. But you could just buy a nice piece of beef or a piece of lamb, and just cook it really well, and feed more people rather than having this chewy little lobster.
What's your tip for the perfect crackling?
Perfect crackling basically is you buy it 4 days before you want to cook it. You have it uncovered in the top of the shelf near the fan. So think of a piece of cheese. If you leave it unwrapped in the fridge, you get that crust. That's basically what you want on the pork skin. You can score it before you can salt it, but it's basically, and then oil it. Very hot oven, as screaming hot as it'll go. You start to get the bubble. Then you lower the oven down and you've already got the crackling.
What's one kitchen habit that drives you mad?
Chefs with phones. You know? Or they go on the toilet, but they're not. They're going to check their phone.
Yeah.
And you can see that.
Do you have them sanitize it before they bring them in?
Yeah,
They really should.
Chefs with phones, yeah.
If you weren't a chef, what would you be doing?
Well, I was in a band when I was in Dublin training to be a chef. So I was a drummer, but everyone else in Dublin was in a band as well. So it's just like we had a great look, but we weren't very good, but we looked great. So I wanted to be a rock star. And then I also applied to work at the zoo because I'm big into animals. I collect like big tropical fish.
Okay.
I've spent far too much money. I've got big ones. And so I'm big into animals and wildlife. So I was talking to someone about it, like Rockstar and dealing with a zoo. Nowadays, a little bit like being a chef.
Can you finish the sentence for me? People think Colin Fassnidge is blank, but really I'm blank.
Angry, grumpy, but I'm really quite mellow.
And lastly, any closing? Were you going to elaborate on that?
I think I've mellowed because I live with 3 women.
Yeah. They would definitely be a leveling force.
I would say it's very good to be angry and mellow because the anger inspires you to you know. Mm-hmm. You've got to have that gusto, that drive to get somewhere because being mellow, you're not going to get there.
Well, in wrapping up, is there a closing thought you'd like to leave our listeners?
I would say trust your gut and work your pleasure. Is that a word?
Ooh, I like that.
Whatever you find makes you happy, try work as that as a job. If you find something we're going to bring that back a bit. If you find something you love and you can make that your job, you'll die happy.
100%. I could not agree more.
Yeah.
Well, okay. On that note, Colin Fassnidge, thank you so much for coming and joining us today. We really appreciate it.
I told you I could talk in the water.
Yeah, no, we know that about you. But no, we really appreciate it and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening in. We really hope you enjoyed the conversation.
We would be keen to hear from you if you have a story to share or a topic that we should dive into.
Drop us a line. We always love hearing from you.